Hey loves, I'm testing out my little microphone, so I need y'all to let me know whether y'all hear me okay, if it sounds weird, anything of that nature. And I'll be checking on y'all's comments. Okay, great. Sorry I've been MIA, guys. I know you've been waiting for these Affinity things. I have a lot of Affinity templates that I'm catching up on as well. So, I want to thank you all so much for not just your patience, but your love and your kind words and your prayers in this time that I've been dealing with a pretty big family emergency. And I thought I was going to be back in order yesterday. I got on the horse a little bit, but I've been on it today. Hey. So if you haven't received your Affinity templates yet, I'm working through them. Matter of fact, that's what this live is about tonight. So as I'm working through this live, it also helps me get through preparing these templates. And then you get to see what happens when you pull up a file from Photoshop into Affinity. Basically all the things that I have to do to translate it to an Affinity file for you. So I'm going to be checking the comments periodically, just seeing any questions you all may have. And I'll make sure I put it in live mode. All right, Sharon. Hey there. Got a first timer here. Y'all welcome her. And then as usual, y'all make sure you hit the like and subscribe and all that good stuff so you can see when we're coming up with the good stuff. So just in the comments, I would like to see how many people are here that that just only have Affinity. Like you don't have Photoshop at all, don't intend on getting Photoshop at all. And then I would like to see also in the comments, so you can comment Affinity, you can comment Photoshop, or you can comment Photoshop and Affinity if you have both like I do. Because I just want to see, basically when I break down these Affinity files, I also talk about how we could do it in Photoshop. Just want to know if that's helpful or not. Okay, Sharon, so I'll make sure, even if it's just one person that does Photoshop. Natasha, Photoshop, definitely. So all the things that I'm doing in Affinity, we can definitely do in Photoshop. And I usually will tell you what the terms are in Photoshop, even if it's different. But for the most part, they're very similar. So for this one, I am converting this template, and I'm going to show you what it looks like, because some of you are asking, can you pull a file in for, can we use an Affinity template in Photoshop? If I have an Affinity template, I already have a Photoshop template. So I would just tell you to get the Photoshop template, because the way they translate, the effects are a little bit different, and sometimes it rasterizes your text. And the whole point of me making these templates when I put text is so that you have editable text. So that's what I have to do to this Affinity file now, is to make all the text editable. And boy, is that not so fun. But you'll get to see here. For instance, I have text here. Let's see if it's editable. It does not appear to be editable. But what I do like is that it tries to save my effects. So if I put a drop shadow or a stroke or something like that, it does try to save that. But now I would have to go back to Photoshop and figure out all the fonts that I used and retype this stuff. So for that respect, it's not that helpful. And then when I do fancy gradients and stuff, it doesn't save it. So yeah, pretty much I end up having to kind of redo the templates when I do them for Affinity. That's why I don't have them already ready. I have to make them upon request. So that's usually the delay in the Affinity templates. My apologies to you guys, but I am doing my best to at least make Affinity templates available to you all, because I haven't seen anywhere else where there are even any Affinity templates available. So I'm working on it, guys. I promise you. Yes, you can open the PSD in Affinity. Matter of fact, that's what I'm doing right now. This file right here is my Photoshop file. The template that I have for you all, it has 3 different designs on it. So it has the basketball background with the lightning. It has this mini one, but of course I blurred out the mini because I'm not about to get in trouble about that. But you could put whatever you want there. And then the same thing, I call it Ice Queen, but y'all know that's a little blurred out Elsa right there. So we're going to see basically how we would do the same exact thing in Affinity that we've been doing in Photoshop. So we have mostly Photoshop folks here tonight, and that's pretty interesting. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to check on my folder, because what I will do is I'm going to, once we get things in order, at least do one person's edit to this. So do we have any? We don't have any Affinity folks in the crowd tonight. Interesting. Well, let's get going. I'm going to go ahead and delete some of these layers we don't need. And if you all look at it, this is what you start with the template that is available on innatelab.com. As a matter of fact, if you go to the listing where you can upload your artwork for the 36 by 44 inch sticky paper, it has this template. You can click on the link and you can download that for free. So let's go ahead. I'm going to turn on this background layer just so I can see what I have to design. So that's my solid color. And then I have two layers here. I have a keep on off for printing. And this has my guides, lets me know how far not to go if I don't want things to get cut off. And then I have my keep on for printing. And that's just basically my white space around it in order to keep me from having to use up all of this ink around this edge. And it also helps you to line up your t-shirt because you get to see the nice clean edge there. Alright, so let's see what's going on with designing this one. My background text. Oh, I really hate redoing stuff. I wish y'all knew that. Let's see. It just bugs me to do it over again. But you know what's funny is when I click on the T, tell me this is editable. No, that was too good to be true. I knew it. So basically this is just reading as a pixel layer. But it's cool because what I'll do is I'll type right by it and it will let me know how close I am to the original. Alright, so let's type in. I had to create a text box there. If you didn't see that, it's called a frame text tool. And you know what? Let me get my little annoying friend on for you all. Let's do, I'm not going to play the sound when the mouse is clicked, but this will at least show you when I'm clicking and when I'm typing. Cool. Alright, so I'm going to type in the same exact words. Let's do well. I think I was deleting stuff the whole time. Oh, let me bring this text up in the layer. I'm wondering why I can't see in this behind stuff. Just start with a new fresh layer so I can show you exactly what we're doing. So we're going to do, you know what, the artistic frame tool. I've been wanting to use this. Okay, so let me show you how this artistic frame tool works. So I honestly would rather use this than the text box. So the artistic frame, I can place a letter and I can drag it to about the size that I want. And then I can type B, let's type all caps, BG text, and of course I have to remember what font that is. I'm going to do my best. That's probably Futura Shop Bold. Let's go to our character here. Yep, I think that's it. So that's our BG text. And here we can do all these layer effects. I'm going to show you. Hopefully I can preserve it by just copying and pasting. Let's see, where is our BG text with the pixel? Now you can't in Photoshop, so since I have a lot of Photoshop users here, you know we can right click and we can copy the layer style, and then we can paste the layer style on the next object that we're trying to mimic that same style. However, in Affinity, they have the styles over here. You can come over here to the menu and you can add the style from selection. And what that allows you to do, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, it should have added your style there. Let's see if it actually works, because it doesn't preview it. Okay, there it goes. For some reason it didn't preview it, but it did save the style. So it had a color fill, it has a stroke, and let's just double click on it so we can see. Double click on the FX. So let's do, it has an outer shadow, and in Photoshop that's called a drop shadow. It has an outline. In Photoshop that's called a stroke, but in Photoshop you can do multiple strokes. I have found in Affinity we can only do one stroke per item. So if you wanted to add another stroke, you would basically have to group this and add a stroke to the group and so forth. It has a color overlay, and you see the color that's there. We're good on that. And we can go ahead and delete this pixel layer now, because I basically duplicated that. Well, before I do, let me drag it to the appropriate size. It looks like I might have stretched that out a little bit. Bam. There we go. So now I can delete the other one and drag this text below our image. So then that way it looks kind of like a magazine style. Alright, as far as the text in the front, we have the word fancy in the Friends font. So let's do that. Now this time, instead of me going ahead and putting it in there, I'm going to change my character. Or I can even do it up here. What am I typing? Alright, so friendship font. Now I can copy these letters from here. So I have something against retyping stuff, as you can see. It's just more opportunities for mistakes, so I like to copy and paste stuff. So now I'm going to paste. Did y'all see I dragged it to about the size? And this thing works pretty good. Whatever this is, the artistic tool, I like it. I wonder if they have anything like that in Photoshop, because it would definitely be helpful. I know so many times I type in Photoshop and I don't even recognize that I've typed anything, because it's like a 12-point font and I'm designing something really huge like this. So that would definitely be helpful. So again, we're not going to be able to copy. In Photoshop we would copy the layer style and paste the layer style. Here we're going to go to our effects menu and add the style from selection. And it's a little bit different than the one before, because you see it looks a little 3D. It has a little bevel and emboss on there. So let's see how that plays out for us. And now we can scroll and paste that layer style. Delete the previous fancy. And there we go. So let's take a look at how these effects made this text look. So double click on the effects. We have an outer shadow, which in Photoshop is a drop shadow. And usually your outer shadow is towards the bottom on Photoshop. You have your bevel and emboss. In Photoshop, that's going to normally be at the top. And you can play with the radius and the depth and all of that good stuff, but I think it looks fine just the way it is. And of course we have a color overlay. And then, just out of curiosity, if you want to change your colors, you definitely could do that here, and we'll probably go through changing those colors later on. I just want to go ahead and get things set up. So this one is the bold text, and for this one we use the flame font. So I'm going to go ahead and select the artistic text tool, and for the font I'm going to make sure I go ahead and select the one that I want first. Drag it till I get it about the size that I want, and then we'll type the word Uh-oh. Copy bold text. Now where did my bold text go? Did it disappear because I didn't actually use it? I think so. I think because I didn't actually type anything at the moment, it went away on me. So let's do it again and Control V. And I don't know, let's see if in Affinity we have an option to do all caps without having to type in all caps. In Photoshop, it would be with your character window, and it has an option to do all caps. I don't see that here. I see superscript, subscript. You can change your spacing, your kerning, and oh, it looks like it would be here under typography, but it doesn't give me the option to do all caps. So let's just type it in all caps. That's your go-to. So in this case, we will type the word bold text in all caps. Caps lock on, BOLD space TEXT. And then let's go ahead and copy the layer style. I think I have my bold text look different than this too on my Photoshop template. I'm going to pull it up just to check. Oh yeah, I'm going to show you what my Photoshop version looked like. I'm not even going to bring up Photoshop. I'm just going to show you what my preview looks like. You see how I had all of this extra stuff? I knew mine was different on Photoshop. So Affinity did not save a lot of my effects. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that it can't do more than one stroke. And it does have some limitations here. So we're going to work our best to basically mimic this exact styling here, because I want to show you all what you have to do and what extra steps you have to do to work in Affinity. I don't want to trick anybody into thinking that it is exactly Photoshop, because it is exactly not Photoshop. But I do feel like it's a super powerful tool, especially for the price. And I will show you how to achieve most effects that I can do in Photoshop in this program. So I can go ahead. I'm debating whether I should even save this layer style. I'll go ahead and save it because it does at least give me my bevel. So I'm going to add that layer style. Then I'll delete that text. Uh-oh, I deleted the wrong one. I'm going to add the style from selection. I'm going to delete the pixel layer of the bold text. And then we'll caps lock on bold text. And now we'll go ahead, scroll all the way down, and let's paste the layer style. So at least I have some sort of bevel on here. Now the problem is I have to, in order to get those double strokes, I have to do a couple of maneuvers here. And then of course we have the small text to do, but I think the small text was the same as the background text. So I will, let me see. Okay, I can Alt and click and drag, and that does the duplicate just like it does in Photoshop. So whenever something is the same, I will still tell you what it is in Photoshop. So the small text pixel, I'm going to get rid of. And then we'll type small text here. And of course we'll end up changing the spacing and all that good stuff so that it matches what the Photoshop version looks like. Now I don't have to make the Affinity ones exactly match the Photoshop ones. I just like for you all to understand that there are ways to achieve the same look, except for the filters. I've been playing on this thing and I can't get all those filters that I've been doing in Photoshop. I can't get them quite to do what I want them to do as smart objects, because smart objects don't exist here, and they have very little selection of live filters, which will change based on the image that you put in. Alright, so let's see, my fancy I have a white outline around it and then a drop shadow. So let's see why we can achieve. The stroke here would be called an outline. Don't know why it couldn't give me an outline. But in this case, instead of gold, we're going to go with the white. So instead of a gradient fill, we're going to do a solid color. Let's do white. And if you're wondering where white is, you can just come to the top of this. And I think we have a little bit smaller stroke. So we're going to play with the radius here. Bring it in a little bit until it somewhat looks like my Photoshop version. Alright, I think that is about it there. And it has the drop shadow, so that looks fine. I don't understand why I couldn't do that. But we'll close it, and that one's good. Now the bold text does have two outlines on it, so I understand why I couldn't do that. So let's mimic those two outlines. First, double click on the effects. We're going to do an outline. The first outline is going to be white. So we'll go to our color, which will be, instead of gradient, we're going to do solid color. We're going to do a white. So I'm just dragging it. If you look at where I'm on the color space, I'm just dragging it to the top. And we're definitely going to make it a little bit thinner. So we're going to change this radius. And I noticed in Affinity, sometimes you got to give it a little second to visually update. That looks about the same to me. Now in Photoshop, you have an option to do the plus sign, and it's not called an outline, it's called a stroke. You can do the plus sign and it'll add a second stroke. In this case, we do not have that option. So because we don't have that option, there's a couple of things I have to do. I have to take off this outer shadow, and I'll just kind of visually see what this is. 192, 22.5, and 0. So I'm going to take off my outer shadow because I actually have to make a group of this. So I can do Control G, and then I can apply another stroke to this group. Now this is the way that I found to cheat and get multiple strokes. If you know of another way, please let me know, because I find this highly aggravating. I used to have to do this in Photoshop. However, I thought we were past all of that. Okay, so let me show you this. While I was talking, I was about to do something without showing you. I'm going to create an outline now for that group, just like I told you. And I'm going to take my eyedropper, drag it, and hold it over the text here. Let it go. Now it hasn't selected that color yet until I tap it. So once I've tapped it, now that color is in place. I can increase my radius here, and it should give me indication of how thick it will be. And I'm trying to match up my Photoshop version of this. Trying to make it as consistent as possible. Alright, so that's what the Photoshop version looks like. We also have a drop shadow on here, and in Affinity it's called an outer shadow. And I think I had it somewhere near 100. Don't remember what the radius and offset was, but let's play with it and see what it does. Offset is going to be how far it sets off from the original text. The radius is pretty much how thick that amount it comes off from the original text is. And the intensity, I'm assuming, is whether it's a softer glow or it's a hard edge. So I think we have more of a softer look to it. I want to say that's probably about it. I'm just playing this by eye. I could actually go into Photoshop and look up my exact values and try to mimic it that way, because I believe that a lot translates exactly into the Affinity program with the numbers, but it ain't necessary as being a little too exact. Alright, so let's do the small text here. And in this case, the small text is, I like to do something when I do small text, but I want it to look longer. Typically what I'll do in that case is I will increase my spacing That's not it. I want to increase the spacing. Hold on. And usually when I increase spacing, I'm increasing it by like 400, 800, some kind of big number. I want it to be obvious that my intention is to space that text out. Now this case too, I think it's even a little bit smaller. And this is maybe where you put the word high school or something that's not as important. And let's see here, let's do, so this one is black with, I might even be able to take, but this definitely is multi, so we're not going to do a multi-layer on the small one because that's not necessary. But what we will do is copy the text style from bold text here. So we'll take that and come over here to our styles, add style from selection, scroll all the way down, and on the small text we shall apply the big text. And of course it doesn't save all of the font stylings, but we can go back and do that. I remember what it was. It was Futura Shop X Bold Condensed, and then it was, don't know how small a text, but we'll make it smaller. And then I'm going to make sure that it's centered right about here. And of course, we were changing the spacing on here. Or in this case, the tracking, that's what it's called. Let's do 600. And let's decrease the, and this is supposed to be centered. I don't know why it's not centered anymore. And usually that is with your paragraph. And let's see what the paragraph styling states. Optical alignment, what is that? No, I'm looking for my paragraph settings. Oh, okay, so I could choose show typography. And remember when I was telling you in Photoshop you can do all caps? I suppose it lets you see that. But I shouldn't have to click on that. That's a little silly. But okay. Maybe I could have typed on a certain fonts it might let you do all caps, but for some reason it didn't let me do that with the Fire Flame font, which was odd. Let's see, for our layers we need to double click on the effects and decrease that outline size. And like I said, I have an additional blue outline on my small text in Photoshop, but we're just going to bypass that because I don't want to create a whole nother group just to have that little thin blue line. I don't like having excessive groups and folders if we don't have to. Okay, so let's check out our number 4 on Photoshop. Is a little bit different. It has a white outline and then the drop shadow. So let's double click. Let's give ourselves an outline. And am I on the 4? Oh, we have to type the number 4 again. As a matter of fact, let's take this black. We'll take our bold text and let's Alt drag it. And technically, if we wanted to keep the same format, we could keep our 4 in this group, and that's how we can have the same double outline. So for this one, let's click on our number or our text and let's make it the number. It even looks cool with the flame font. I think I'm gonna keep that the flame font. Why not? Alright, so let's delete that pixel layer. So text layer that says pixel I'm mad at, because basically I have to retype it. And I don't know if there's some setting that allows it to preserve the text, the editable text. I'm sure if I find that out, you all will be the first to know, because I'll be using it the next time I do something like this. Alright, so let's see. You got some lightning in here. The lightning came up just fine. If you want to do a color overlay on this, you absolutely can. You would come down to your effects and color overlay, and you can make that lightning whatever color you like there. So let's say you want to do a contrast. I forgot, in Affinity you only click once on the color swatch. In Photoshop you click twice, you double click. And I was getting myself in some trouble the other day because I could not figure out why this wouldn't pop up. It's because it's a single click in this program. So just, you know, giving you an idea that you can change the lightning color. I'm not going to do it here, but absolutely I encourage you to do that. I'm going to go back just because I don't want this file to be so different from the Photoshop file. You can also change your opacity. So let's say you wanted the lightning to be a little more subtle. You just bring down the opacity. And I want to say my opacity, was it brought down in Photoshop? Not sure. But you get the idea. So far I am looking pretty much just like the image, except for on this text I had a drop shadow. Don't know why I didn't translate my drop shadow the same, but let's fix it. Let's figure it out. My drop shadow is a little more prominent. And that looks a lot more like it. Okay, so we already had the background layer there. If I take off the lightning, this is just literally an image. So you can, this one I looked up basketball background. So pull you up a basketball background. You got your lightning effects there. So now we have our text, and I don't need this text grouped. I think the reason why my text may have been grouped before is because I do like to put all my text in a group so that I can kind of turn it off and on or move it as a group together. But because we have some groups that have the extra outline, which is not our problem in Photoshop, but is definitely our problem in this program, I'm going to leave it in the order that it's in, and you'll be able to see. As a matter of fact, I don't need the official group for the text. And I wonder if I try to delete just the group. I'm going to see if it gives me the same option. It does not. If I try to delete a group in Photoshop, it asks me, do you want to delete the groups, the content, or the group with the content? And Affinity definitely did not give me that option. But we're going to leave it alone because so far all the text is still together. The only thing that's separate is, let me take small text, and if I move small text inside of the group with the extra outline, bam, I get my extra outline. Not bad, not bad. Okay, so it wasn't as many extra lines as I thought it would be. Alright, so let's see. There is another issue with not having the smart objects. So Photoshop, if I want to change out this photo, bam, I double click, it's a smart object, I bring in my new object. However, in this program, what you want to do is just deal with file place, and that's your next best thing to a smart object. In this case, let's place an image from the group tonight. Let's see, we're gonna go to my delete files. Let's see what we have. I want to do a single image. And something sports related would be good. Let's try this one. Because what I'm going to do is I'm also using this as an opportunity to show you all how to do some cutting. Let's do that. So it's going to show this icon here, which allows us to drop it in, and we'll make it as big as we can make it so that we can do our thing with this pen tool. Now, surprisingly, the pen tool works pretty much just like the pen tool works in Photoshop, so that is good to know. There are some other options as far as like your selection. You have a selection brush and you have a magic wand, what they call it, the flood select tool. Let's try the flood select tool and let me show you what those limitations are. Just like in Photoshop, I'm holding down shift and selecting multiple parts of the image, but it's not cleanly doing that for me. That is why I like to use the pen tool. However, I can already tell you I'm going to have some trouble around that net. So let's show you what trouble looks like. I'm going to grab pen tool. I'm going to start somewhere. I'm going to kind of ignore the net right now just because I already know it's going to give me problems. And I am going to make sure that I'm clicking with intent. So where I want a straight line, I'm just going to click. Where I want a curve, I'm going to click and drag until I see a curve. And as a matter of fact, let's zoom in a little bit here so you can see how I'm creating these curves. And again, where I want it straight, I'll do a click. That's going to give me an angle. And then where I want a curve, I'll click and drag. And this does take not only patience, it takes practice. So be patient with yourself. Still have a selection on somewhere. Okay, I had to do Control D to get rid of that selection. Now for clothing, you don't have to be as exact. But for shoes, I find that if you're not exact cutting out shoes, they just look crazy when you're done with them. And of course, the contours of the body, especially where you have skin. So if you cut off somebody's bicep or calf muscle and it looks a little funky, that was on you and your cutting skills. So you got to practice these curves. You see I'm clicking and dragging, and with this method too, the previous node determines what the next one can do. So these are just like opportunities in life. Whatever you do for one step affects the next. And I'm going to, I should have put this above everything else, but since I didn't, let me just go ahead and turn off the visibility for this text so I can see what's going on. Hopefully it'll allow me to continue. Zoom back in. And of course, continuing on my path where I want a curve, where I want a corner instead of a curve, then I click. Where I want a curve, I click and drag. Bam, I want a corner right there. Bam, I want a corner right there. And you can, the beauty about using the pen tool is that you can go back and edit the nodes later. So if you do happen to cut off too much of a shoe, or you made something curved that really should be straight, or vice versa, you can go right back in and change these nodes. And see what I tell you about the shoe, try to follow that shoe as much as possible, because if you cut off the parts of the shoe and you don't recognize it till afterwards, after you commit the selection, then it will give you a little issue. But that's the beauty also of not actually cutting out pixels and using masks to conceal or reveal parts of the image. It's all in the prep work. Now this one, probably for the next one we do, if it's easier, I will show you all the remove BG feature. It does require a purchase if you want to do it for high resolution images. And even though this image is cut off, I'm still going to go ahead and select as much of the body as I can, because when I fade stuff off, it's easier to have more to take from than it is to cut it off and then you're still trying to fade, and not only are you missing a piece of an arm, you might go, you know, fade off the entire half of the chest. So zoom in a little bit and you'll get to see how these pixels work for you or against you. And in this case, what I may do for the hair is just go around it, because we have a lot of complex curves. So let's see if there's a feature. I know in Photoshop we have a feature to refine our selection, and I'm going to see if there's a feature here in Affinity to do that. I would imagine so, but I don't want to guess and be wrong. Now I could have sworn I already had part of this selected, and I hope it didn't make me start over again. For some reason it just started down there, because I remember before I had, oh, it started my curve over again. Beautiful, beautiful. Alright, so now when I want that sharp curve, or that sharp point, no curve, I'm going to click, and then around the net I'm going to do what I had done before, which is just give it a little space so I can clean that up. Click, and then on my curve I'm clicking and dragging. Clicking and dragging. Been getting on my niece and nephew about sounding too country. Alright. So we'll just redraw this part, which was the part of my initial curve. And once I hover over it, it should close that up. Close it. Okay, so now we should have the shape, and it should be a vector shape. So let's take this curve. We're going to go to our photo and back to our pen tool. Uh-oh. So I'm dragging the curve below the photo, and then I'm going to hit mask, see what happens. Mask. Didn't do it. I did my selection. I know if I select the selection and then do a new mask, it will mask it, but I wanted to keep my vector. Let's see. Let's go back to our pen tool. Well, if it doesn't give me that, I'll show you the next time. I think I was supposed to do it while I was on the image, and I don't think that's what I did. So in that case, let me take our curve. I'm going to make it so it did make it a mask, but it made it a mask for some other stuff. Okay, so I did apply it. So the mask, in order to apply it, had to be above the photo. And then it masked the layer beneath it. And now it dropped beneath it. Not as intuitive as I thought it would be, but it's not bad. I figured it out without having to look at help files or, you know, tutorials. So that's okay. And in this case, because the image is, you know, cut off to some degree, let's figure out how we're going to use it. So this one will probably be a multi-photo shirt, just because I think we have enough photos to work with to do this for the same subject. And before I get into getting real fancy and cutting the goal out really precisely, I'm going to see if another image that I throw in is going to overlap some of these imperfections. And that's a way you can get away with just by placement, how you're working with your images. So let's go back to files here. This one's for Vicky. It's got a prom picture and another photo. So let's file, place. Will it let me place more than one? Okay, so it will let me place more than one. I hit Control and selected 2 images. Let's download and see how this works. Place 1, place 2. And of course, these are web resolution images, so they're really small. And you know what? Let's see if this one removes well with Remove BG. Let's see. Go ahead and pull this up off screen. Remove .bg. And while it's doing that, I'm going to check on you guys and see if you have any questions so far, if y'all can still hear me. Yolanda asked a very good question. Hey, Vicky. A bad picture, yes, a bad picture is a bad picture. The resolution that I would recommend is at minimum. You know, sometimes they're going to come in as pixels. Sometimes they're going to come in as an image size. And it'll have like the inches of the photo, and then it'll tell you the DPI, or the dots per inch, or the PPI, which is the pixels per inch. Same thing. So my suggestion is to have a photo that is at least you want, if you can get 2000 in one of the directions, like 2000 in the smallest direction, that's a great option, because it'll scale really well. That's 2000 pixels, so it might be like 2000 pixels by 2500 pixels, something like that. Another thing is if it comes in inches, like, if you can get an 8x10 photo at 300 DPI, that's really good. That's, as big as you're going to get from like a scanned image. Sorry guys, I was about to choke over here. I had to drink a little water. So yeah, that would be my recommendation. But when you pull it in, basically what you see on the screen is what you get. If you were to zoom in here, oh, I'm zooming in over on the other screen. If you're to zoom in here, you can tell that you're going to have pixels in this. The great thing about doing soft substrates such as the t-shirts, it's a knitted fabric, so the knit kind of conceals a lot of the imperfections in the graphics. But hard substrates like license plates, your hardboards, that sort of thing, they definitely will reveal some of the imperfections in your image. But I mean, it's just part of the process. Y'all know what we have to deal with, even with our own stuff. When we want to do something we like and we realize that we spend our life, maybe not taking the great pictures and enjoying the moments, so we end up with some not so great pictures. Okay, so let's do remove.bg. I want to show you. I have a login. I'm going to go ahead and log in so I can get as full a resolution as I can. And that's why I was trying to create that Google Drive folder where you can drop images, because if you have a high resolution image, get the photo directly from the customer. If you try to pull an image off of Facebook, it's going to be degraded every single time. And sometimes it's not even worth it, because you had a really nice picture to begin with, and by the time it's screenshot or uploaded to Facebook and then downloaded again, it's just not what it could have originally been. So let's see, we're going to take both of these photos, as a matter of fact. It did a good job, better than what I would imagine time wise I could do that quick. You saw that was literally what, 1 second. And let's see, I'm gonna bring the other picture on and see what that looks like. I'm literally dragging these photos from my folder onto this website. That looks good too. All right, so let's go ahead and download these two. And normally it just takes the same name and just puts remove BG preview at the end. And let me make sure. I want to download the full image. And I want you to see here, here's the difference between, this is the full image. It is a little bit higher resolution, but if I had a really high quality photo, it would preserve that that resolution for me. So there's one, and then I need this one. Let's download that one. Okay, so we'll save picture number 3 and we'll go ahead and place those, and you'll see how much easier that was when you have something that you can't remove. I'm even interested, now you don't have to purchase the credit for it, you can preview it without purchasing the credit. Let's see, just out of curiosity, how it would have cut out the picture of him jumping. Lost a little bit of the texture of the hair, but other than that, I probably get, you can bring that back too. So if I wanted to even, edit that further, I could go to edit, add some of the hair back. I can even add the gold back. I'm going to keep the gold because I think it would be really nice to fade it off and make it part of the design, but we've already cut it out for the most part. So yeah, I would say I would add the hair back and add the area around the hair, and then go back and remove that part, and of course remove our little extra subject here. But it didn't do bad at all. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and delete that one, and we'll go again, file, place, and you can do place in Photoshop as well, and it should be my more recent images. 1, 2. All right, let's see what we can do with it. Now, like I said, none of this is planned. We just get on here and do what we do. And I'm thinking, I want you to keep in mind too that when we're sizing these images, we have, let me turn back on my guides so we can pay attention to that. So what I'm trying to see is there anywhere where I wouldn't need to necessarily even clean up part of the background, or what am I going to keep? Because we know for sure that this is going to end up getting cut off here, and around the sleeves. It's really a matter of what size shirt we're using, whether we're going to cut off the image or not. So I like to make sure, this is my method, guys. I don't care how many I'm printing out of what size. I am not going to sit there and do a different template for a small, medium, large, extra large, unless they are really paying that good money, like school uniform, not school, but sports uniforms, where they are, paying $120 per uniform. Then I will sit there and I will resize each graphic, and I probably wouldn't even do it then, just to be honest. This is so much easier. Scale it to the smallest one, and then just make extra background meat. And if you stick around me long enough, you'll be saying inside meat, outside meat, whatever whatever I can get to make it stick. So we're just going to create some background meat, and then that will kind of blend everything in. And then for our 3X's, we'll just have extra exterior image. Alright, so let's see what we're going to do layout wise. Vicky, since I have you on here, is there any, I'm guessing that this is the team, is it the school team or maybe like a league? So I'm trying to get the idea of what we're doing with this theme. Are we doing graduation? Just give me some idea. If it's a school logo, I might need to look up. Yeah, Michelle, background meat. Oh, okay, that one. Let me show you where the new template is, Michelle. And that's a good question. I'm glad you asked that, because Let me show you real quick. Did I shut down? I think I did shut it down. To get that template, let's wait for this site to load up. It is, I don't think I put it in the trash. I think I did a new one and then I put the old one in the trash. So let me make sure this link still works. So this was the image to click on the all over 3D where it says we print, you press. And this is so that you get the big sheet and then you can do your multi-press, which is 16 by 20 press. Here where you click on this link, free all over blank templates, let's make sure it works. Yep. Okay, so that's the link that works. There was another one and that listing, that link might have not been disabled. So I probably need to go in and clean that link up. But thank you for that. I appreciate it. I'm working on this site too, guys. I'm trying to get it where this stuff automatically downloads and I have all these files ready for you. Whew, it's a process. Alright, so that was how you download this just blank template. And it's free. There will be some other templates. Like I'm going to have a whole arsenal of templates that are still blanks. But I might have like a subscription where, you know, for $3 a month or whatever new templates I develop, or, you know, just items that will probably be exclusive to you all. They'll probably be in that folder. But for now, this I want everybody to have anyway, because I want you to be able to design and upload these in the exact proportion that we would print them. Alright, so it's definitely is basketball. Let me see if Vicky's responded yet. Top chat, I need live chat. Good job, Michelle. So you got it. Cool, cool, cool. Alright, so for Vicky's, what I'm going to do, if I don't know just yet, like what other design elements we'll use, then what I'll do, I'll just design something and we can always go in and change it later. But definitely one of the first things I want to do is get the basketball photo and fade off some of this area here. And I can do so with my paintbrush. I'm going to go ahead and create a layer mask. And let me make sure that I show you all. I have black selected. So black is going to conceal and white will reveal. And I'm just going to increase the size of this brush a little. Yeah. That way what I'm doing is I'm just using it basically to paint off some of the image. And it just makes it look more believable whenever it's juxtaposed like another image or another background, that sort of thing. And that's really all that I have to fade off, because the board was the only thing that was cut off. Yeah, I'll probably fade off the bottom of his feet down there because I don't have a complete foot. If I had a complete foot, I would just let it stay there. Of course, hair here. Let's zoom in there. And here's where I might be able to use. They call it a quick select tool in Photoshop. What is it called here? Selection brush. Ooh. And let's change the size of the brush. How do we change the size of the brush? No. And let's see, let me go to my brush. If I change my brush size first and then go, nope, oh, it's here. I was gonna say I thought it would be independent. So the brush width is there, and what I'm trying to do, and now it's taken into account the background that we can't see right now because we have a layer mask, but I'm attempting to use this selection brush tool to grab the background surrounding the hair so I can keep the texture of the hair. And let's refine. Once we refine, we can kind of get an idea of how clean or unclean it looks. I mean, honestly, I think that's pretty good. I might apply that, and let's see. So we have our layer mask on right now. I'm going to go to just the layer mask. I'm going to use my paintbrush now, and we'll increase the width of that paintbrush. And I'm just going to go in with the paintbrush, clean out those parts I don't need, and then now I can deselect, see what I'm working with, grab the rest of this stuff here. And it looks a little more natural than when the Remove BG program cut it. It just, you know, cut it a little too smooth. So I'm alright with that. And then let's bring our text back. Now, as far as colors go, y'all know how I am about colors. That's why I was asking what the school colors or theme is, because I will even make the vest be the color of the school, and, you know, just to kind of go with the theme. And I'm sure that's something y'all would want to know in this program. In Photoshop, I probably would just play with the hue and the saturation of the layer, and then I would just let it apply to the vest. So let's see if I have hue saturation, Hsl. Okay. I'm guessing that I'm going to be taking my reds and shifting. Now, this is me just guessing. I have never done this before on this program. Let's say I would be wanting it to be blue. And of course, right now it's not clipped to any particular layer, so it's changing everything. And that's fine for right now. Let's check on the magentas, because that's where the rest of the blue was, or rest of the vest was. Some was magenta, some was red. And just doing a little shift there. So now I can have that be blue. That wasn't that bad. Not bad at all. Okay, so I'm going to close this out, but I'm going to make sure that I drag this to the formal wear picture. I drop it on top, then I drag it down and indent it as I drag it down. So it's like it's bulleted to the right. And it should make it apply only to this layer. And yet and still, it applied to his flesh tones, and I don't like that. So of course I'm going to take this layer, and we're going to do the paintbrush. Let's increase the size of my brush, and I'm just going to paint. Went a little too heavy. I'm just painting on there so you can see I can bring the original color of the image back. Let's bring the size of the brush down a little bit. And all I'm focusing on right now is just bringing back the skin tones without fooling with the vest color. And if I get too close, I can come back. Like, let's say I take out a little too much, I can come back with the white. So you have your black and your white colors here, your foreground, background, switch it. So now that I have white in the forefront, I'm going to bring down my brush size. Zoom in a little bit. Come on, Control Plus. And then I'll just use my brush to kind of clean that up. It is not perfect, but it will do when you're trying to do quick color changes. How many times have you wanted to change the color of somebody's shirt because it just didn't go with the theme? Are you like me and and that bothers you to see too many colors in your design? If not, then I forgive you if you leave it whatever colors. I'm just showing you some tools of the trade. Let's say for picture number 3, we see that hard line, we want to cut it off. We can do one of two things. We can do the brush fade off like I showed you before, but let me show you a gradient fade off. Before we do it, we definitely have to do, let me see. Yeah. Let me go ahead and do a layer mask. And then in this case, it made everything white by default. So when we do our gradient here, it's doing from white to gray. And hold down your shift key if you want your gradient to stay straight. Otherwise, it goes any which way. But if I hold down shift, it locks it. So again, you want to start from the inside meat and go into the picture. If you start from the outside meat, your fade off is not going to be clean and you won't know it till you print it. Okay, so we started from the inside meat. Let me do it again. Inside meat, go up. If I start from the outside meat and go up, you're going to get a stark line anyway, even if it looks mildly faded off. So inside meat, hold down shift, go up, and then we're going to change these colors. So we want it to fade from the bottom color is going to be black. See how black conceals? And then the top color, instead of gray, because gray, this is giving us like 50% opacity. You can I'd like to stick with only using white and blacks, but you can use grays if you want something to be mildly visible. But I just choose to use opacity for that. I don't like using the gray for that purpose. I want my pure white, so I'll go from pure black to pure white. We get 100% opacity up here, fading off to the bottom. And that's how you use the gradient tool. Alright, let's see if we have any questions so far. Yes, Yolanda, I love the training when it can make you laugh and learn. Okay, so just playing with this a little further. And you can see how you can take these templates, and just because it doesn't have a multi-photo doesn't mean it can't be a multi-photo design. So in this case, let's take off some things. Let's see what we're working with here. I'm going to take off the lightning for a second, just so I can focus on these colors in the background. The same way I changed the colors on the vest from the maroon color to the blue, I can also do a hue saturation adjustment. So those are your adjustments. Let's go Hsl, and this time we're going to start with the cyans. And the way that I tell what I'm going to be working with is if I take the saturation all the way down and it turns gray, or bring it all the way up and it turns like a very vibrant color, then I know that's what I want to mess with. So I am going to shift the blues. That shifted it more towards green. I want to make sure I don't get towards a purpley blue either. So I'm just trying to bring more of the true blue out rather than that kind of Carolina blue. I can even darken it up. And then I can also choose blue, because chances are there's some blue in here too. It's not just all cyan. And usually that's the case for magenta. It's either going to be red and magenta, red or magenta. So you play with both red and magenta. You play with both cyan and blue, just to see if you're getting the effect that you want. And I'm trying to move it away from the greenish blue, but not too far to where the blue becomes a violet hue. So I think I'm good right there. Alright, so I'm good on that. And then of course I would change the colors of the text to make that go in good. I'm probably going to change this layout a little bit here. We want to make sure that most everything that is important is within this dotted line. So if I don't want it cut off, like for instance, this image can be out here, because the most that will probably get cut off is this shoulder. That's not such a big deal. But it would be a big deal if we had his face outside of the line, because it is a possibility if you're doing a small shirt that could get cut off. Alright, so now the rest of this is pretty much doing overlay. So let's bring our background text. Let's bring it above the basketball photo. And let's bring the basketball photo down a little. And as you can see, we have an area over here on the arm that we could probably clean up too. So let's go to that mask, grab us the regular paintbrush, and see, before we had black or white selected, let's go ahead and make sure that we have our pure 100% black selected, so then that way when we paint on the mask, and make sure you're on the mask layer, and let me increase the width of that brush there, increase a little bit more. And that's just so that I don't see any hard lines if I don't have to. Alright, and I will show you how to change the color of the text. So we have the word fancy. I'm just going to leave the words as they are because I don't know what words we'll be putting in here. But this gives you an opportunity to see how to change this stuff. So for this one, if I want to change the color overlay, in Photoshop, I can choose multiple color overlays, so I can keep my original color and then I could add a second color and only display that color. But I don't have that option here, so when I change this, it's going to change it overall. And I'm clicking one time. I can choose a color manually, or I can choose my eyedropper and grab a color. In order to select that color, I have to tap the circle, and that is the color that I selected from the image. However, I did make that color blue, so I might not want to trust that color. Maybe I want to trust the color from the jersey instead. But sometimes the photos just aren't good indicators of color, and you just have to eyeball it and make your own color. But whatever you do, make sure you don't have a lot of, like when you have blue, make sure you don't have a lot of red or magenta in your blue, because just the slightest gear towards purple will push it to purple with sublimation. So you don't want to, you know, push your colors in and disappoint your customers. So if I want to save that color, let me go back to my fancy. Hold on there. Go back to fancy, and I can go to that color swatch. If I go to RGB hex sliders, I can double click here, copy this hex code, and then instead of guessing what that color is again, when I go to my background text, I can double click on the effects, click on that color, and I can paste that hex code in there. That was my outer shadow. Not what I was supposed to change, and that's what I'm so like confused too, because Photoshop will put the outer shadow at the bottom, and I was thinking that that was the color overlay up there instead. So pay attention to what you change. I was like, why didn't the color change? Let's hit enter after I put in that color, and now you can see that color is there. Now because the background color already has blue up top, I might switch this up and do a contrast color. Like I might do the black here instead, and black is just 6 zeros. Then that way it adds a little bit of contrast there. So I'm happy with that. Of course I would change this based on the information for the school or mascot or whatever the case may be. For the text here, same thing. If I have that hex code changed or saved because I copied it, I can go to the outline, which was before that Carolina blue, and paste, hit enter, and you see my outline colors change to the darker blue, and then it kept the white previous outline. So that's it. I would probably do some stuff like, you know, maybe add some brushes and that sort of thing to it, but I just want to show you how to do basic layout, edit your text, not overwhelm yourself, because this was not overwhelming. This shoe right here, I'm going to bring this image down because I feel like the shoe is going to get cut off anyway, so I'm just going to drop it to the bottom. We'll see a little bit more of our text that way as well. So that's it. That's one. Let's see, what else do we have here? And these are a couple of simple ones where these are just like 1, 2, 3s. Okay, so you have your background, foreground, and in this case we have like a number and a name for birthday. Let's see, do I have any that I might need to use for a birthday? Now definitely I have some good graduation photos, so I'm definitely going to be using those in some of the upcoming tutorials because I definitely needed those. So I'm excited to do that one. So Natasha, we are going to do, if I don't do it tonight, I am going to use those photos in another tutorial session. Definitely, because you got some really great photos. Yes, Vicky, if you want to change the color to navy blue, that's what it's supposed to be? Is it supposed to be navy? Because I can do that now. I was wondering, where were you? Vicky, you took a break on us. I was looking for you because I wanted to ask you what changes we can make to it so that it would be fitting for your young one. Let me go ahead. I'm going to turn this one off. We'll go back to it. So I'm looking at the comments and I'm looking at live chat. I should be able to see what you say. Oh, your phone died. Oh, okay, you trying to say I was talking too long. Okay, I'm just playing with you, Vicky. All right. I hope you get charged up now because I wanna make this something you can use now. What else do you want to put on there? Do you want to do school name? Is there a mascot? Anything like that? Okay, so it's navy blue. Okay, cool. Now, are you okay with me changing the color of his vest to fit the context of the colors of the school? Or do you want me to change it back to the red color? So this is good, guys. We get to do some like real-time learning. All right, so we had the Hsl shift, which is the hue saturation levels. So I'm going to double click on it. Or hue saturation, they call it luminosity. I don't know what it's called in Photoshop, but I know it's hue saturation. I never noticed with the last one. Maybe it is luminosity, but it's basically the value of that color, whether it's closer to white and like a lighter color or closer to black and like a navy color. So in this case, we're going to we have to be aware that the color we chose before to change were the reds, right? So we go to the reds and we're going to shift this down towards black because we already changed it to a blue hue, right? There we have navy. Same thing with the magentas because we played with the magentas a little bit too, and we'll pull those down. And now we have navy. Now we may not want to do, let's see, let's do the navy to the lights up here and see how that works. I created a Google Drive to drop photos in for y'all, but for some reason it was acting a pure donkey and I'm so sorry. Okay, cool. So Vicky's okay with me changing this to the blue. Good. I'm gonna get some of y'all to try this tonight. Let me do, I guess I can copy and paste the link in the description, but no, I want it to be just for the Innate Creative members. Okay, so there's a post on Innate Creatives, the private Facebook group. If you're not a part of it, definitely join. I created a listing where it says like, hey, your photo here, I want y'all to go to this Dropbox. It's not really Dropbox, it's a Google Drive folder, and I want you to drop files in there because when y'all send me the pictures on Facebook, they're always a lower resolution than if you had the original file. And I just don't want a bunch of random emails, so I'd rather have a folder that when I'm ready to grab some photos, I just have like a bank to choose from. So look for that listing and I think you have to like be logged into your Google. So if you have a Google account, be logged into your Google. That way you should have a way of adding photos to that folder. And I think I made it like public access. So let me know if I'm wrong, because I forget the young lady that was checking for me today. She was helping me out trying to troubleshoot it, and it just wasn't working right. So you all help me figure out if that's working. If you have another suggestion for, a free file sharing solution, I'm up for that too. I just want it to be free. I don't want y'all to have to pay to drop files there, because I want to be able to pull from it, and it not really be an order queue. It's just more or less, if I can get to it, then I have something to pull from. Oh, okay, Natasha, that was you? Yeah. Whew, I'm sorry, my love. We got to figure something out, though. So, something free. But for now, whenever I make a post like this, you can just add your photos to the post. But I would prefer to have better quality. Okay, so Vicky says it's Richmond High in Richmond, California. So, let's see. Is he a senior, Vicky? And if not, that's fine, because what we'll do, we'll just do this more or less as a typical parent shirt, kind of highlights sports and the personal images. I'm trying to go back to live chat so I get it in real time. Oh my gosh, Vicky, I'm so sorry, my love. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Well, I'm really honored to be working on this right now, because I had absolutely no idea. But I will put love into this, and you will have something that you can, put some love into yourself when you get a chance to make it. I'm sorry, love. I didn't even see that. But yeah, we definitely are going to, do this thing up for you, okay? All right, Vicky, so you're our motivation for tonight, okay? You're welcome, baby. So let's get into it. Let's do this up. Do you want to put his name on there, Vicky? And I see his number is 26, so let's go ahead and change his number. And we got to make this something that he would like to. So you'll be representing him well. I always say, you got a nice design when the boys want to wear it, because they'll tell you in a heartbeat if something you have is corny. In a heartbeat. Won't even care about hurting your feelings. Alright, so I got the number 24 here. Oh, no, I lied. It's 26. Y'all let me tell that lie on live. Alright, so 26 is here. And I'm going to shrink it down a little bit so I make sure that it fits on even the smallest shirt. And then this background text, we may even choose not to display it. Let's see. And for the colors of the shirt, let's make the background image have a little more navy blue. We'll go back into our hue saturation, and we'll go to our blues. And we'll just bring the luminosity down. And you can see how that starts affecting the darkness of the color. Same thing. So yeah, we're getting that navy blue there. And let me go ahead and save while we're going. I'm pushing it with all these windows and programs open. Oh, your son has another. Oh my gosh, with the car. Vicky, I promise you are a sweetheart. So I'm glad we got a chance to do this one for you. J Mac. Yeah, J Mac. Okay. So we got to do J Mac in the flame text. Let's do it. Let's do it. And I'm just double clicking here on the text so I can change out the letters, and we'll do J Mac. J-M-A-C. Cool. And I'm going to pull it up a little bit so we don't lose any of that getting cut off if we were to print on a smaller shirt. Are you going to do this one for your son too, Vicky, or are you going to do this one for you? And then let's see. Oh, for his mom. Okay. That's going to be nice. That's going to be nice. Okay, so let's do, what was the name of the school again? Richmond High. And then for the fancy, I'm going to duplicate this layer because I'm thinking what we're going to do is maybe a script layer instead of the Friends font, but let's see. Now I'm going to venture to retype, but I told you I usually copy and paste stuff, so if I misspell something, y'all please let me know. Let's see. I'm going to take off my caps lock so I can that way I can see my variations, especially when I can't stand to see all caps script unless it's a monogram. So since I'm gonna anticipate doing script, I want to do lowercase. Let's see. Some script I may want to use. That one's okay. I have to be careful because I feel like anytime I'm using script on the guy's stuff, I have to make sure it still looks cool and doesn't look too, you know, too formal or too feminine. Alright, I like that one. Let's see what it looks like blown up. And of course, this is our text save area, so we want to be safe and make sure we don't come outside of the area. We can move things around as long as we know that we are staying inside of this dotted line. Uh-oh, I'm changing stuff. I'm not even supposed to be moving. Where's my layers? Richmond High. And the reason why I'm bringing the size of the images down is because if I want to preserve, you know, certain parts of the image to show through, then I need to make it a little bit smaller so that we don't cut anything off with the words. So I'm going to reduce the size a little bit of some of these images, so I don't lose any of it. And I'm going to tell you a tip here too. With the low resolution image, when I blow it up and I cut it out, I'm not getting exactly my clean lines here. So what I'll do a lot of times is I'll do an inner glow, but I'll change the inner glow to be black, and let's change it to normal. And what I'll do is I'll just make it kind of glow inside the image a little bit. That way it makes it look like a kind of a subtle shadow. And let me see if y'all can see that. I'll zoom in a little bit. and it's not really doing it as cleanly as I would like. I'm gonna turn down this intensity. And then I also put an outer glow with the same color. So then what it does is it kind of fades that background out just a little bit, but with an intention to have a certain color. So if I had a white background, I might even do it in white. And then I can also bring down my opacity so it's not so strong. Just wanted to kind of color in like anywhere that I had like an extra bit of white that I didn't want. And as a matter of fact, I can come here to my curve mask, go to my selection there where it's actually more of a shape. And let me see, in here I should be able to modify these nodes. And so in Photoshop, I'm usually looking for a direct select tool, which looks like the regular arrow, but it just happens to be a white arrow. I don't see that here, so there's got to be some other way to modify that. And if I don't see it, okay, the node tool. So in Affinity, where the pen tool is, there's a node tool, and I'm guessing that's going to allow me to change the nodes. Good guess, Shannon. Told y'all I'm learning Affinity right along with y'all. So what I'm doing, and now you see the beauty of creating it with nodes, I can go in and modify my mask with vector output. So around the pinky where I felt like it was a little too sloppy, my cutout, and I just happened to be showing a little too much of the background, now I can come in there and rectify that. Okay, so I'm happier with that. And then of course we can do some other things. We could do some background effects. I'm just trying to figure out how big I want to make this. And that's fine. I wanted to get the corsage in his hand because I thought that looked really sweet. I like that. And let's shrink the casual image down just a little bit. And I want to show you something too. If you want to like have the main image and then change the opacity of the images that you might want more in the background, we can do that too. All your images don't have to be straight up. Now what I will tell you is that if you want these to be like have a certain lighter opacity, but you don't want to intercept, let me just show you better than I can tell you. Let me do, why am I grouping this? Okay, so let's do a group for these two background images, and then I'll take the opacity down for the whole group. So for right now, all of the pictures are going to stay the same. I'm going to do a black and white. Let's see, do we have black and white here? Black and white, there we go. So we'll do it in black and white. And then we'll change the opacity, bring it down a little bit. Oh, not of the black and white. I want to do the opacity of the entire selection. entire group. Okay, so the entire group, we're going to bring down the opacity. And then you'll see that sometimes you just want one image to stand out a little bit more than the others. And now you have the option to do that. And when I turn down the opacity of that group together, then it didn't necessarily turn down the opacity of this image, and then I could see through it to see the gold through his face. So I didn't like that look, so I changed it to where it changed it all together. And let me know what you think about that, Vicky. Do you like all of the images standing out, or do you like it with the background images kind of more like watermarked, I think is a good way to put it. Yolanda, I'm all for Photoshop 1000%. For my purposes. However, I started using Affinity on my tablets, on my iPads, and I don't have iPad Pros. I do have the one with the better memory or a better space, but it's definitely an iPad, whichever one they just came out with in 2019, and that one seems to handle Affinity really well. I don't think it would handle Photoshop well. Okay, so Vicky, you like it like this? Cool, cool, cool. Now, I think what I'm going to do is go in, of course, we'll change these colors on the blues because we did determine it was navy blue. So let's do that now. And I think I might even move this image down a little bit. Just want to make sure that the light there in the image, and I might even just move the background image a little bit. There we go. So get more of his face in there. I like that. And text wise, let's go ahead and change up, and you see what's happening here. If you understand that the Richmond High had a drop shadow on it, and then it also has this stroke, if you can see that this is trying to stroke outside of the drop shadow, so I definitely need to change that. Let's go to I'm so used to in Photoshop I can right click and see the name of the layer that I'm trying to select, and it doesn't quite work like that here. But like I said, you're going to have some limitations in this program, but for the most part, you're getting a very, very high quality product for a very fair price. Richmond High. So Richmond High is within this group. This group has a stroke on it. So if I wanted Richmond High not to have that stroke, I would bring it above. Then that way it doesn't have that nasty, unpleasant stroke on there. But I can go ahead and change my colors now to the navy. So let's click on the effects to the color overlay. And I'm going to use my color dropper just to pick up some navy blue. Click on the circle. It applies a navy blue. Same thing with the outline here. I've got that royal blue. And what I should have done is I should have saved my hex code, but I didn't. So I will show you once again, dragging your slider or dragging your color picker tool where you see the navy blue, click on the circle. If you don't click on the circle, it will not change the color for you. Now in this case, my JMac here, right now I have a color overlay. Oh, that's for Richmond High. I want JMac. Okay, that's for that entire group. So let me just find JMac. And let's do a color overlay just on this. Right now it's got black selected, so matter of fact, you know what, let's do a gradient overlay instead of a color overlay. Let's make it fancy. And again, if you click on your gradient, you can change these little color stops here. Let's say I want it to go from navy blue, click the circle to apply it. Then I want it to go to, let's say maybe a little bit lighter version of the blue. Let's go to a lighter area there, select, and then we'll go, maybe we'll do white. Of course not yellow, so let's go to the color. And in this case, I can go to my gradient down here and just choose a white. Then of course I have that little color stop right there that has some color in it. I'm going to delete it. And Vicky, let me know, you know, if you like this or if you want to see something different. Give me an idea how you feeling about this. And I still see some yellow in here, and that's probably because I'm going to go ahead and change my opacity up for these points here so I can see if it has any color in there. And I'm right, it has some yellow in there. I knew it. So I'm going to get rid of that one. So it goes to pure white. And then even still, I don't want it to go to white. I want it to be just a little bit. And then even this color has a little too much purple in it for me. You see how close that red slider is? So I will slide it back if I feel like it has a little too much red in it. I just do not want it to be purple. That's my main thing. And if I want it to be gray, I can always go to my saturation, bring my saturation all the way down, and it has no tint of any color whatsoever. So I think I like it with the gray because it's kind of pulling in like the black and whites from the background. And I'm liking that. I'm going to take this node and delete it so that I fade more into that nice gray. And I'm going to check on you, Vicky, see how you feel about it so far. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Long live J Mac. I love that. Yolanda, yes, the mouse, I tell you, like my finger cramps trying to do all of this stuff with the mouse, but when I started doing it on the tablet, it's just a totally different animal. Now I do have a tablet that attaches to my PC. It's like a, what is it, like a Huion tablet. I use it as a second monitor, but it does have the tablet capability, so I can use it to cut out and do my contours, and also sketch. So that's an alternative too. And then when I take my laptop on the road, I use it as a second monitor, and then if I'm working with a client, I can show them the second monitor instead of them staring at my screen the whole time. So that is definitely something to think of. The reason why I got the iPads is because I felt like it was an easier tool to use rather than pulling out my whole laptop, so I can do contour cuts and prep work, and then eventually bring it over into my Photoshop program. So I work on a PC, I don't work on a Mac, and I'm trying to learn to love the iPads and the iPhones and that user interface. It's not sticking to me quite yet, but I'm sure I'll be able to master both of those. Okay, let's see. Let me go back to my live chat. It keeps switching me to top chat instead of live chat. All right, so we got a thumbs up on how we're doing so far. And let's say, just for instance, now I'm showing y'all a lot right now, so you know, it might be a little overwhelming, but all of these things you can do in Photoshop as well. I probably would even, let's see, now that we have the blue theme going on, I'm going to take the red out of the corsage here. Let me go back to this. And the way that I'm going to do that is grab my paintbrush, and I'm trying to think, I'm going to want to do my black. We'll see which one it is, because I don't know if I want it to be blue or if I want to actually just fade that out. And let's do white, smaller width. So I want to leave the color in his fingers though, but I want to reduce the redness that I see here. And plus it's giving me the cool tones that I need to match with the rest of the design. Like I told y'all, I'm a real stickler for themes and colors and how they flow together. So if I see like just some warm tones that was really bothering me, I don't know if it was bothering y'all, but I saw the warm tones from the corsage and it was just screaming to me to clean it up and change it. So now I'm seeing the cooler tones there. And something else, oh, the floor. So let's say you wanted to make this floor more of like gray tones to kind of go with this look, because to me the brown is just really standing out, and it's not supposed to. It's really supposed to be about JMac. So let's do, we've already got a hue, saturation, and shift adjustment. So let's see if we go back here and now this time I'm going to guess that the floors are red, and the way that I can check is bring down my saturation. That already looks better to me, so I can crank it all the way up, crank it all the way down, and understand what I'm changing. I'm also thinking that there's some yellow in that flooring, so I can crank it all the way down, crank it all the way up. And to me, the gray to the blue just looks a lot more intentional. So I'm not wanting it to look realistic. I'm wanting it to just have some intention to it. And I'm even looking at that navy blue fading to that gray, and I think that middle blue is making me think of purple. So I'm gonna change that. And y'all can see how I can be on these things for hours at a time. And why, when I do create a template, the whole point of it is for you all to really have a tool where, you know, the thought has already been put into it, and all you have to do is put the time into the prep work, which is the cutting of the image and how you want your color scheme to go. So let's do JMac. I'm going to go back to my color gradient here. And I think I'm just going to remove that middle color, because this kind of periwinkle is throwing me off. Whew, that makes me feel better. I told y'all, when I see warm and cool colors kind of together, and I see purples next to blues, it just kind of, you know, makes me itch a little bit. But I'm okay with this. Now where it says small text, what if we do, let's do long live. Do you mind if I do long live on that, Vicky? Oops, I definitely want to caps lock it. Then you tell me what you think of that. And I'm guessing there's also an option to maybe arch text and that sort of thing. I don't immediately see it in here. Mesh warp. Let's see what that is. It's going to make me rasterize it, and I don't want to rasterize it, but I think that's what we would do. Matter of fact, I need to undo that because it just pixelated. It turned my text into a pixel layer. Well, are you going to undo? Doing lots of Control Z's and it didn't do anything for me. Oh, I guess I can cancel. Well, before I cancel, let me show you, I guess, what we could do with the mesh. Let's see. So it's letting me transform it. If I did want to do and I'm sure that may not be the only way to do it. But let's apply that and see what it looks like. I'm not crazy about how it did the text, but that was also because it had already applied the layer effects. And in this instance, I have to take the drop shadow outline color. Okay, there's no drop shadow here. And it's still editable. And for the long live, I think I'll take and put the long live color overlay in white. So it makes that stand out more. Just wanted to give a little more attention to his name and a little less attention to the school, but still giving that recognition. So let me know how you feel about it. If you'd like to see any other elements on here. I don't know if you would want to do, you know, clouds or anything like that, but I can definitely show you how to put that on there. And I'll just show you real quick. If you wanted to do clouds or any brushes, like paint brushes, anything like that, if you have the brush pack, let's try that out. I'm just going to do a whole new layer, even above this basketball design. Let's do a new pixel layer. Let's grab our brush. We go to the Innate Lab brush arsenal, and we're looking for clouds. Now this brush pack works in Affinity and Photoshop. And you'll see you have your scatter brushes, paint brushes, you have some clouds in here. And that's not my cloud. And let's see, it's not naming them for me unless I actually put the name on. Let me see if I can display that for you. Close. Maybe if I had more of it extended, it would show you the names. But I'm just looking at the preview to see where my clouds are. There we go. So I'm going to paint with white as my color. And make sure I'm on 100% flow and opacity. I'm on a new pixel layer. And this thing looks tiny. Let's crank it all the way up. Still pretty tiny. Control T is in Photoshop to transform. I keep forgetting that. It keeps bringing up my character. Alright, new pixel layer. Let's go to my brushes. Grab a cloud. There we go. Alright, so right now I'm just brushing a cloud on there, and you can see this brush, the cloud is the same, so I'm not going to bother with doing multiple ones. But what I'll do, Control T, I did Control T, and that's what you do in Photoshop. I keep confusing y'all. So Control T is how you transform something in Photoshop. What I'm doing right now, I'm going to set some foreground clouds and some background clouds. So I'm going to allow my foreground clouds to be a little more dense, a little bit more opaque, and I'm going to Alt click and drag another one over here, and let's see if I can transform it. Transform, I want to reflect it or flip it horizontal. Then that way, you know, it kind of frames this image right here. Same thing, I'm going to Alt, drag a new one. As a matter of fact, I'll do that to both of these at the same time. So I selected Control, selected both of those. Now I'm holding down Alt. It's going to create a second version of the clouds. This time I'm going to bring these clouds a little closer together. Because I'm going to take 1 and 2, I'm going to group those, make them bigger, and then these are going to be my background clouds. But what I'm going to do is place these underneath my image. Uh-oh. I'm missing left clicked in the middle of trying to pull those together. So I'm going to pull it in front of everything except for the background. Well, let's bring it in front of the two photos here. I like that. And then what I'll do is I'll bring the opacity down. And dragged it in the wrong area. Do this one more again. Drag and drop between the black and white. There we go. And the same thing with the foreground clouds. I can take those and I'm going to keep them inside of this group though. So I'm going to pull it right on front of the text. And then we'll bring down the opacity just a little bit so we see the floor through there. Increase the size of the clouds a little bit. And then I'm going to choose a little bit different cloud for do a new pixel layer. Got a different cloud selected for the one right here in the middle, and it may even look just the same. What I suggest is go ahead and stamp your cloud in the middle space so that you don't cut anything off, so that when you move it around you have a full cloud, you don't have half a cloud. So if I want to rotate it and squish it, I can do so, but still maintain all my edges there. Then I'm gonna let it kind of hang off the page a little bit. Didn't mean to move my guide there. And again, we'll take our opacity, bring it down a little. And like I said, although we may not be getting his whole shoe on the print, I'm not going to take any chances. So I'm even going to take his bottom of his image there. And I'm on, oh, this one, because the background was already cut out, it didn't have a layer mask. I'm going to add a layer mask. Go to the brush, bring down the size, and this time I'm going to make sure that I have just a regular old basic soft brush selected. Bring up the size. A little bit more. And of course, I want to have black selected. I have white selected. So black is going to conceal and white reveals. I'm just going to tap, 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 take off a little bit. You probably don't even see much of what I'm doing. And I may even take it off the other shoe just a little, just so it doesn't look like one shoe is faded, the other one isn't. And if I wanted to be real clever, I might even put an extra set of dense clouds right there. But like I said, I doubt most shirts are even going to get to that far down the bottom, but I think that's it. The 26, I want to leave that color. I want it to stand out. So you guys let me know what you think. Let me know if we did JMac justice, if we should do anything else. I think I'm going to bring the Richmond High above the clouds. Richmond High. So we'll take these clouds and bring them below Richmond High. Oh, you know what? We can't do that because we have the outline on that group. So put outlines around the clouds, and that's gonna look janky. Okay, let me check in with y'all, see if y'all still with me, because it's late. I didn't even realize how late it had gotten. Really, Yolanda, the forward meet clouds? I didn't think of that one. Let's do the 26 with the navy. Let's try it. As a matter of fact, the easiest way to do that is to go to our effects, go to our color overlay, take the color picker, hover it over, and let's grab a pixel from the navy. Then we click on the circle to apply it, and there it goes. And it actually does look better because we don't have a lot of pure black, so that navy kind of plays back into it. We could also copy and paste this gradient and apply that, but I think the JMac in the gradient kind of does its own thing, brings attention to it. But yeah, I think the 26 does look better with navy. And just trying to make sure I'm far away from that purple, because y'all don't understand that heartache when you think you got blue and you sublimate something that looks purplish. I call it blurple. Sublimation is famous for giving us blurples. Okay, so let me check in with you guys, see what you think, any changes, updates. Oh yes, Lord, I'm tired, but you know what, it's time for me to do my catch up right now. So this weekend is me in grind mode. I missed a lot this week, so I'm playing catch up, and I missed y'all. Yes. So absolutely, I missed y'all. I'm trying to get back in my groove so I can spend more time with y'all again. I like that, we have our interactive moments, and I feel like, y'all are in class without tuition. So you don't have to learn the hard way with college credits and student loan debt. We can learn together and grow together. So I think what I'm going to do, Vicky says her phone keeps going in and out. Thanks, Jessie. And thanks, Michelle. So I'm going to go ahead and save this one. Save. And I think we're going to call it a night on this one. Now, I'm probably going to take a break, go get some water. I've got some templates to catch up on. So I may go ahead and just do my template stuff live. I probably won't be checking in too much. And because probably y'all will be asleep, but at least it'll be some content on here if y'all want to see what I'm doing in Affinity, what little random problems I run into, because I do run into problems in Affinity trying to make it look like Photoshop. But you'll get a chance to kind of see what goes into converting these templates, because it's not as easy as just opening it in Affinity and saving it for you. I promise you. Okay, anybody have any questions while you got me direct on here? All 11 of you right now. All right, Natasha, I'm definitely going to come back live. So any of you that happen to just be late night thinkers and want to stay up with me, you are definitely welcome. I'll probably be up for another at least hour, maybe two, doing these file preps for people, because I am behindage and I got to get on top. Okay. Yay, Sharon signed up for the group. Good. So yeah, I want y'all to look for that link where I'm asking y'all to drop files in that in the Google Drive, because I think that's going to be really paramount for a lot of these templates that I'm coming up with. I want to be able to use y'all's pictures, because y'all have like great ideas, great photos, and we could really make something work. All right, well, if y'all are up, y'all definitely come see about me. Come check on me. I'm going to be over here coughing and hacking and throat getting all dry from talking, but I'm going to be here. Okay. Yes, we need to do another simple tutorial. As a matter of fact, Yolanda, are you needing the simple tutorial for Photoshop or for Affinity? Okay, so definitely for Affinity. So we'll do a short tutorial just like I was showing you to fade off. It'll be like a little 5-minute video showing you how to fade off images. Another little 5-minute video showing you how to cut out images. I think that will be helpful for you all. I'm just now noticing also that even just adding the strokes and drop shadows, that sort of thing, is really helpful for you. So Yolanda, if you could get Photoshop, I'm going to recommend Photoshop, just because that's like the industry standard. But if you had to choose like budget friendly, and that had to be your major decision, I would definitely say Affinity over anything else that's out there. Because for $50, or some people have been catching it for $20 when they have sales, you can't beat the power that that the program has as far as design features. And pretty much the same stuff that I tell you in Photoshop can be done in Affinity. Okay. All right. Thanks, Jessie. I appreciate you coming by. You're always supporting. Good night and thank you. And you're very welcome. So I will check in with y'all probably in about 10-15 minutes. All right, loves. Until next time, if it's a good night for y'all, good night. And I love y'all. Bye.